The clear problem with the outlawing of insult is that too many things can be interpreted as such. Criticism is easily construed as insult by certain parties. Ridicule easily construed as insult. Sarcasm, unfavourable comparison, merely stating an alternative point of view to the orthodoxy can be interpreted as insult. And because so many things can be interpreted as insult, it is hardly surprising that so many things have been, as the examples I talked about earlier show. Although the law under discussion has been on the statute book for over 25 years, it is indicative of a culture that has taken hold of the programs of successive governments, that with the reasonable and well-intentioned ambition to contain obnoxious elements in society, has created a society of an extraordinarily authoritarian and controlling nature. That is what you might call the new intolerance, a new but intense desire to gag uncomfortable voices of dissent. I am not intolerant, say many people, say many softly spoken, highly educated, liberal-minded people. I'm only intolerant of intolerance. And people tend to nod sagely and say, oh yes, wise words, wise words. And yet if you think about this supposedly inarguable statement for longer than 5 seconds, you realize that all it is advocating is the replacement of one kind of intolerance with another, which to me doesn't represent any kind of progress at all. Underlying prejudices, injustices, or resentments are not addressed by arresting people. They are addressed by the issues being aired, argued, and dealt with, preferably outside the legal process. For me, the best way to increase society's resistance to insulting or offensive speech is to allow a lot more of it. As with childhood diseases, you can better resist those germs to which you have been exposed. We need to build our immunity to taking offense so that we can deal with the issues that perfectly justified criticism can raise. Our priority should be to deal with the message, not the messenger. As President Obama said in an address to the United Nations only a month or so ago, laudable efforts to restrict speech can become a tool to silence critics or oppress minorities. The strongest weapon against hateful speech is not repression, it is more speech. And that's the essence of my thesis, more speech. If we want a robust society, we need more robust dialogue, and that must include the right to insult or to offend.
On the Golden Globes, a lot of time you are politically incorrect and hilarious, of course.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
So this is,
well,
yeah,
well, that's the thing about offence, isn't it? When people say they're offended, it's that just because you're offended, it doesn't mean you're right. You know, it's offence is about feelings, and feelings are personal. Some people are offended by equality. So what? You know, so you can't second-guess people. If you try and please everyone, you'll please no one. With comedy as well, I think you've got to deal with taboos and contentious issues, and sometimes you deal in irony, and some people don't get that. But, you know, you can't legislate against stupidity, otherwise you'll be doing nothing. So if you're saying anything, you should polarise. You should polarise, because everyone's different.
Seriously, you know, there is deep infantilism in the culture. And that extends, you know, you can laugh at it, you know, in terms of what people wear and what films they see, but in terms of the way they think, they can't bear complexity. The idea that things aren't easy to understand, that there's a but there's a ah. You have to think. There are gradations. There are, you know, that no one wants that. They want to be told, or they want to be able to decide and say, this is good, this is bad. I'm saying so. Anything that in any way conflicts with that is not to be borne. And on student campuses, this idea of,
trigger warnings.
There are many great plays which contain rapes. And the word rape now is even considered a rape. To say the word rape is to rape. Well, it has an interesting Latin root, and the word raptor comes from the same root, rapine, and there are all kinds of words from it. Violate, you know, these words. They're terrible things, and they have to be thought about clearly. But if you say you can't watch this play, you can't watch Titus Andronicus or you can't read it in a Shakespeare class, or you can't read Macbeth because it's got children being killed in it. And you might trigger something when you were young that upset you once because Uncle touched you in the nasty place. Well, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's a great shame, and we're all very sorry that Uncle touched you in that nasty place. But you get some of my sympathy, but your self-pity gets none of my sympathy, because self-pity is the ugliest emotion in humanity. And get rid of it, because no one's going to like you if you feel sorry for yourself. The irony is we'll feel sorry for you if you stop feeling sorry for yourself. Just grow up.
When I approached stand-up, my mission statement was to try and be as funny as you are in the pub. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Right.
So I didn't want it to be too, tricksy, or I played a slight persona, because I always do that anyway. I do that. We do that here, So it was saying the wrong thing for comic effect, or being naughty, or trying to get people to laugh at things they didn't know they could. And I've always doubted Taboo for that reason, because I think it's more exciting. Sure. You want to take the audience to a place it hasn't been before. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and get them to laugh at things they didn't think they would enjoy.
Exactly. And this show is all about that. It's all about, there are no bad subjects for jokes. It depends what the joke is. We've talked about this a lot. And I talk about the most taboo subjects, and I discuss them, and then give an example of the joke. And by the end, they're cracking up, and they're knowing they get it. They sort of get, oh yeah. If you start off with a joke in that subject, it's, oh, why has he done that? Because they don't know where you're coming from. And that's the other thing about this tour. People know me now, so they know what I'm doing. Do you know what I'm saying? Like
absolutely.
a friend, like a mate knows you don't mean it. These 5,000 strangers every night. No, I don't mean it.
Right.
Do you know? So
they know what they're in for. They know what to expect.
They know what they're in for, and they love it. And it's almost like they're going, "Oh, he's always done this, but I don't think we quite got it before."
Right. And we can't get. You're one of the few A-list celebrities. I'm going to say A-list celebrities who doesn't back off when you're criticized for a joke, which I love. Yeah. You never back off when you're joking about something and people are like, I don't like that. You basically tell them, all right, well, then don't follow me. You don't have to like it. Or if they're insulting, you're insulted. Like, you handle it really well.
Well, I think that's because I can justify it. I'm not one of these comedians who goes, oh, it was just a joke. Because, I don't really do that. I think it has to stand up on its own, comedic legs. And I talk about this, that, offence is often caused when people mistake the subject of a joke with the target. They don't look at the joke. They've been told this ridiculous dogma that some subjects shouldn't be joked about, which is a nonsense. And I get asked, is there anything you won't joke about? And I think, well, you're a journalist. Is there anything you won't write about? Right. It depends what you write. And it's funny, because whenever I've done a joke about a really contentious subject, or, and it's discussed on the radio the next day, I'm going, but you're talking about it. Yeah. You're talking about it. Because they assume I'm coming it from the wrong direction. They assume I'm punching down, and they assume I'm making fun of whatever the victim is in this joke. Right. Which isn't true. Because a joke about something doesn't have to be pro or anti. It can be either. It can be neither. It can punch nowhere. It can be a pun. Right. It doesn't. You have to take every single joke on its merit.
And I recently got, and again, you can't, I've talked about this on the show before, but I was recently on Twitter, I did a Caitlyn Jenner joke, which wasn't even nasty, and I was accused by a bunch of people of being transphobic. Right.
This is at least 15 minutes in my new... this is 15 minutes in my new stand-up about...
And not even about that. I talk about it in my special. I got accused of being transphobic, and it was like, wow, you really have no idea who you're talking about, do you?
Well, exactly. I mean, they picked on the wrong person there. But I did a joke at the Golden Globes, and they were saying it was transphobic. And I said, why? And they said it was about a trans person. I said, well, that's like saying a joke about Bill Cosby is racist. Right. It depends what the joke is. It wasn't transphobic at all. The joke I told at the Golden Globes, I came out, and I said, all the actors are looking at me all nervously, brilliant. And I said, relax, I'm going to be nice tonight. I've changed. Not as much as Bruce Jenner.
That's funny.
And I go, now Caitlyn Jenner, and what a year she's had, became a role model for trans people everywhere, bravely breaking down barriers and destroying stereotypes. She didn't do a lot for women drivers. So the subject of that joke is clearly stereotypes.
And by the way, like, the thing that people should, even if they're going to take umbrage with something, it should be like, wait a minute, wasn't that a thing? Somebody died in that car accident that he's referencing. Yeah. But nobody even picks up on that.
I discuss it. I say, let's not forget the target of the joke is a celebrity killing someone in their car.
Yeah. And they also said you dead named Travis